Thanks very much for speaking to us, Stephen. We're looking back on 30 years since your first World Championship win in 1990. If I can take you back just to kind of before the game and when you were ready to go out there in that first session versus Jimmy, what were the emotions like when you were about to go out there?
I basically couldn't wait to get started, to be honest. I'd beaten John Parrott in the semis, so I became world number one as well. So I was so full of confidence going into the final. I knew, having played Jimmy so many times, I knew our game suited each other. I mean, his game suited me, my game suited him, because we both like to go for shots and take risks. So you always knew you were going to get chances. But my general feeling was, having won the semi-final, I just couldn't wait for the final to start. I didn't even think there was any chance. I didn't think I was going to lose at all. I just felt so confident. It's good to win comfortably. I mean, people always ask me what sort of world championships give you the most pleasure, and I think the one where I won a session early was '93. I think gives me even more. So it kind of shows, as you say, how dominant you've been in a match, and especially over 4 sessions. So 18-12 was yeah. I think it did justice, I think, to how well I played over that final, and obviously become world number one.
And with that break of 71, Stephen Hendry brings a great championship to an end. He has beaten Jimmy White by 18 frames to 12 to become the youngest ever champion.
People have said, what do you think is more difficult, a record to beat, 7 world titles, or the youngest at 21? And probably looking at it, they're both obviously going to be very difficult. But I don't see anyone at the moment coming through. You would have to look to China, the Chinese players, probably, if you're going to look at young players with potential. But yeah, I don't see anyone, because the game's so competitive, coming up through the rankings, not just at the top of the game, but coming through to get through and to get in the stage of winning the World Championship before the age of 21 now is getting more and more difficult. My manager and I, when he sort of, it was us against the world, basically when I turned professional. So Steve Davis and Barry Hearn sort of monopoly of the game. Steve having dominated the game for pretty much all of the 80s. Our plan was to take over and take over that dominance. So yeah, I knew personally, and between the people involved with me, that was only the start, winning that World Championship in 1990. If I was going to not just be a professional, win titles, I wanted to really make history in the game. I don't, if someone said after I won that first one, do you think you're going to win another 6? You probably would say, yeah, I fancy my champion. You probably wouldn't believe it 100%. But that was always Steve always set the sort of targets in my career that I tried to either emulate or overcome.
I saw you said on Twitter the other day, one of the big regrets of your career was not getting to play against Steve in a world final. How much would it have meant to stand across from him and kind of go toe to toe in a world final?
Well, we were kind of battling for a good few years of who was the number one player. Sort of late 80s, turn of the 90s. So it would have been great. Obviously, the way the seedings work in the World Championship, that a lot depends on that, who gets to the final. But yeah, I think Steve Davis and probably Ronnie as well. The chance not to play with either of those in a world final is a little regret. It's not a massive thing.
Get it. So, after all,
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 63.
It's not going to be 3-1 to O'Sullivan.
Thank you, quietly, please.
Assuming Hendry pots this.
I've not watched a lot of these Crucible classics, but I watched the 2002 semi-final.
Hendry first in with 65.
Just a fantastic match. 2 players, playing aggressive snooker. It was like a boxing match almost with the centuries, punch for punch. That was the way I like to play snooker. And I think it would have been great to play a final like that.
This has been, in my opinion, one of his greatest performances. An absolutely unbelievable match. A fantastic clearance. Stephen Hendry's in his 9th World Championship final, and the way he played here, who says he won't win it?
Looking at the win in 1999 and your 7th title, beating Mark Williams in the final, did the fact that you climbed your own mountain in terms of setting those 7 world titles, did that feel extra special? What was the feeling like achieving that and getting your 7th?
Yeah, it was kind of like relief, a bit of relief, the sort of monkey off the back kind of thing that you know, when I got to sort of 4 and 5 and then 6, then obviously the next step is to beat the record. I'd gone 2 or 3 years without winning, and you don't want it to go on a lot longer, and then sort of you try too hard. So yeah, and it was an amazing World Championship win, actually, because the season up to it, I'd played terribly. I'd lost 9-0 to Marcus Campbell. I think I'd lost 3 times to Tony Drago. No disrespect to him, but I've never lost him before in my whole career. So it wasn't the greatest season. So to come back and win the 7th and that season was even more special.
Did it feel different, that final, going for the 7th than the other ones? Did there feel like there was something extra riding on it?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I tried to go through the whole of the tournament and concentrate match by match, and by and large, I did that. But it was always in the back of my mind, and obviously every press conference you do after the match and before each match was, you know, that's what people were asking all the time. So you could never forget about it, even if you tried.
Just finally, I wanted to ask a question on Peter Ebdon. You were saying earlier about your kind of rivalry you've had with him over your career. He retired yesterday. I mean, how tough a competitor was Peter to go up against?
He was a strange player, because he used to play his best. I mean, you could go like 5-6-0 up on him, and all of a sudden he'll start playing his best snooker. He was a phenomenal competitor. There was a time when he first came on the scene, when he first burst on the scene. I mean, there's no doubt he rubbed people up the wrong way, including myself. You know, he got up people's noses because he was different. He was a breath of fresh air. But we had a great rivalry, which I enjoyed, which was about 4, 5, 6 years, where we seemed to play a lot of semis, finals, big matches. And you know, his shot selection was unique, was a bit unorthodox, but he was a fantastic snooker player.
What was the feeling like going into that final frame against him?
Well, that was obviously the 2002. I'd beaten Ronnie in that fantastic semi-final, and I kind of had in my mind that if that was the final, I thought whoever won that set would go on and beat whoever it was in the other half of the draw. So I possibly didn't go into the final with the right attitude. I didn't think for a second that Peter could beat me over 4 sessions. And then, I was, 4-0 down. So it just shows you've got to have the right attitude all the time in this game, because you get punished for it. And I think unconsciously or subconsciously, whatever the word is, I switched off slightly in terms of my intensity of practice. Even in the press conference after winning the 7th, I said, if I never win another match, I've done everything that I possibly want to achieve. So you kind of give yourself an out in terms of, if you don't win another thing, you've given yourself an excuse. So instead of saying, right, I'm going to push on now, try and get 10 world titles, I said, okay, I'm happy with that.